Oh, is Shirley? Am I speaking to Shirley at the moment?
You are indeed. Hi.
Hey, Shirley, how are you?
I'm not too bad at all. And yourself?
I'm fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about Carers Week and how it's going so far?
It's going good. It's going good. I think it's a very important week of the year when, the carers of the country finally get a bit of recognition, and those that can make use of some of the activities that are on is great, but there's also a lot of people who can't, just purely because they can't get away from their caring duties.
Yes, and sorry, you've had some experience yourself as a carer, so can you explain about that and the importance of Carers Week?
Well, up until a year ago, I was caring for both my parents, who were obviously elderly, disabled, and had multiple health needs. And unfortunately, my dad passed away May 12 months ago. So it was, as any carer will tell you, it's 24/7, and you don't tend to switch off. You can't switch off. You never know the time when the phone will go, and you have to get back and address some issue that has occurred. So I think, as any carer will tell you, people tell us to take time for ourselves, and that it's vitally important, but we get caught up in the caring role, and we don't necessarily tend to do it. And I think it's only when the impact of it hits you that you kind of realise that your life is equally as important as the person you're caring for, and that you need to address that and take time out. So unfortunately, that's what happened to me, and I began to get really severe panic attacks. And as a mum to a 10-year-old as well, I had to, equal out everything and realise that without me looking after myself and giving myself time, I couldn't continue caring for my parents, and I couldn't sort of raise my son. So it was a learning curve, and I would have to say that unfortunately, since my dad passed away, obviously I still care for my mum, and that's still difficult, but obviously a bit of breathing space for me, because it's only one person, it's not two. And I'm much more aware of taking time for myself. And you can feel guilty about that, but I try not to let that really impact on me, because I know without looking after myself, I can't look after anybody else.
And you talk about self-care and the difficulties that are faced with Carers Week. Is that designed to be an awareness kind of thing, or to really get some more information out on self-care? Is it a duality of these things, or can you speak a little bit about that?
I think it's both. I think obviously it's in its 11th year, and definitely it needs to happen. The mundaneness of caring very much can isolate you from just the normal routine of life that you would have had if you weren't caring, whether it be for a child, an adult, or an elderly person. So the fact that through the media, through newspaper, everything, we're getting some recognition of what's going on. The reality of caring is it's not something you apply for. It's just something that happens and that you fall into. And initially you probably don't classify yourself as a carer, but as time goes on, you realise that you are a carer, and that the dynamics of your life are very different. You don't necessarily have the freedom to just disappear and do whatever you want, whenever you want. So I think Carers Week is very important. People actually, in general, just actually, whatever they do, even if they only take half an hour out for themselves and just reflect and remind themselves that they're doing an exceptional job, a job that's unpaid with, no holidays, no future. I think it's just very important that we actually do all give ourselves a pat on the back, because there's not many other people doing it. For us, we're not getting that real proper recognition from the country and from the government. So we need to say to each other and to ourselves, an exceptional job, and without us, life will be very different for our loved ones.
Well, you don't have to tell me that, because it is a phenomenal commitment, being a carer. I used to actually work for a carers organisation back in Australia, and it's a huge commitment, and not enough recognition for just how big this job is. I mean, I don't have to tell you that's for sure. So what kind of, with the coping strategies, if someone is right now as a carer, what do you think they can do to really kind of feel like the mental kind of weight of this? What's something that they can do to really help themselves out?
I think really actually reminding themselves that they count and that they actually are allowed to have a life. And it's not possible, and any carer will tell you that, and you'll know that yourself from working in that kind of area. I think we need to keep that at least an hour a day that we do just walk away from our situation if we can. Currently in the country, we launched Share the Care, which was really making family members, friends take on board what the individual carer, because within families you can tend to find that it's one predominant member of the family that takes on the caring role and probably does it so well that everyone else in the family thinks, great, they don't need any help. We do need help. We need to be able to walk away. From our mental point of view, our mental health is really being attacked every day, depending on the person that we're caring for, because people are dealing with different dynamics, dealing with cognitive decline, dealing with stroke victims, dealing with, children and adults that don't have the mental capacity to look after themselves, to speak, to be able to communicate and say how they're feeling. And when you're doing that 24/7, it impacts on you, and look, you feel for the person, but also you can become very frustrated, very angry if you haven't got sleep because there's nobody else coming in to give you any respite. That sleep deprivation kicks in, and your patience, your told patience threshold isn't as good as it normally would be. And much and all as we will say to people, we're fine, we can do it. It does. It kicks in, and that's in some ways too late. And then, I think mindfulness, I think definitely taking time out for yourself, going for a walk, going for a swim, meeting a friend for a coffee, even half an hour, and allowing yourself to offload the stresses that you're having, and say to yourself, it's okay to feel like this, and taking a breather, and then being able to go back into the situation and probably cope with it a lot better. But as people will tell you, it's not always possible. The respite services aren't there. There's not enough investment put into looking after the carers. And if we don't look after ourselves, unfortunately nobody else is going to. So I suppose we have to become a bit selfish, and that's quite hard, because as a carer you are quite selfless. But realistically, anybody could have to become a carer. The dynamics of someone's life can change in the blink of an eye, and what can go from a normal household where everyone's independent and can change. And it's only when you're thrown into that situation you realise the lack of support that is out there for you, and you're beginning to fight for this person that is in a position not to be able to fight for themselves, and just for a fight for a quality of life. But you can't do that if you don't look after yourself. So I would just say to every carer, find that half an hour, find that hour. Or in actual fact, when somebody says, look, I could sit with your loved one, or I could bring them out today, actually learn to say yes. Could you do that? And not feel a guilt. But the guilt is something that we take on ourselves, and sometimes we can be our own worst enemies in not accepting help from friends or neighbours who may be willing to sit in for an hour just so you can go and do something. So that's hopefully what I'd like to think this week people can do. But I'm well aware that there's people who can't take on, get out to these activities. But maybe by listening to all the media work and people, talking about it like myself, they will allow themselves and be able to say, yeah, I'm allowed to have this time to myself.
Definitely, and I hope everyone is listening. And how has Carers Week gone? What events have we had so far, and what events do we have coming up?
Well, there's obviously, you can look on Family Carers and Care Alliance on their websites and Facebook, and you'll see the different activities that are going on throughout the country. I myself wasn't at Family Carers launch this year. I normally go, and I have spoken on it before as a family carer. But for myself this year, we got invited to a friend's son's First Holy Communion, so I just got my brother in to care for my mum, and I went away with my son for the weekend. So I have to say I'm very lucky. I had the few days to just unwind, not know what time of day it was. So currently, today, if I wasn't with my mum, I could have went to a pampering session out in Bray, which would be my local sort of carers place to go. So I declined that. I'm quite happy, though, that I'm getting to talk, and hopefully if just a few carers listening today take that time out and don't feel a guilt and allow themselves some breathing space, then I'll be happy.
Certainly the awareness of this thing, and I think carers, at some point they need some caring too. You know what I mean? Like just the amount of effort that goes into it is amazing. So. And you said on the website they have a list of all the different events and everything like that.
There is different events. I mean, yesterday the Acquired Brain had their injury unit had their walk down the pier in Dunleary. It's nice to know that so many places are being lit up in blue to recognise family carers. So anybody listening to this today who luckily currently isn't what we would term as a carer, if you know of anyone who is, or you think might be, maybe just try and do something for them. Maybe offer to sit with their loved one, or maybe just bring them a coffee, or actually
have a cup of tea,
the doorstep with dinner. Just something like that, just something small, or actually maybe just say to them, you're doing a job. I think as carers we know we do a good job, and I know people have said to me over the last 7 years of caring, oh, well, you're definitely going to heaven. I would like to think that long before I may get to heaven, I will get something nice done to me before then. And I think a lot of carers will understand what I mean when I say that. We need to enjoy our life now. So something small, but in actual fact, just that recognition is nice to hear. And, there's carers, young and old, just doing incredible work behind closed doors. And I think when we're a carer, we can begin to lack confidence and lack a belief in where we're going, because we're putting our lives on hold and there's not necessarily any direction in it, depending on the age that you are. And if, like myself, you're a sandwich carer, between a young child and elderly parents, you can be fearful for the future. So I think we have to just enjoy each day that we have, but take something out of each day for ourselves and ourselves alone, not for the person we're caring for. There's people caring for children with profound disabilities, and they need time for themselves, but they need time with their other children and with their partners. So taking a little bit of time out, but I'm the first to know that that's not always something that can happen.
No, definitely not. Well, look, very much appreciated for your time. And if anyone does want to check out some of the events, just hit up www.carersweek.ie. Shirley, amazing work. I hope anyone that's out there that's caring for someone at the moment takes just a little bit of that advice at the very least, and take some time out of their day if they can to go check out and visit some of these events, because the work that they're doing is fantastic.
Right.
Thank you very much, Shirley.
Okay, nice to talk to you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.